You want to know one of the clearest signs that you are far more powerful than you give yourself credit for? It's not how loud you are. It's not how many followers you have. It's not even about how many people clap when you walk in the room. It's this. You start setting boundaries without apology. That's when everything changes. Because here's the truth. Weak people can't set boundaries. People still trapped in the prison of needing approval from everyone around them. They don't set boundaries of being stretched thin, talked over, underestimated, or used. Something inside you shifts. You realize that your peace has a price, and you're done letting other people pay for it with their dysfunction. You finally say, "This is where I end and you begin." And that line, that invisible line you draw in the sand, that's power. And it doesn't feel like power at first. It feels uncomfortable, awkward, even selfish. Because for most of your life you were taught to keep the peace, smile, nod, and avoid conflict. But let's be honest, keeping the peace at the cost of your dignity is not peace. That's quiet chaos. And when you stop participating in your own exhaustion, when you say, "No, I'm not available for that," without explaining, without justifying, without shrinking, that's when the real version of you starts showing up. People might not like it. In fact, let me guarantee this. When you start honoring your boundaries, you will lose some people. But you won't lose yourself. And that trade, that's one of the best you'll ever make. Because every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you tolerate disrespect for the sake of being nice, you chip away at your own self-respect. But when you stand firm, even if your voice shakes, you reclaim something essential. You stop outsourcing your power and start owning it. There will be people who call you too much when you start showing up as just enough for yourself. They'll call you difficult, guarded, selfish. Because they benefited when you had no boundaries. That's not a reflection of your character. That's a reflection of your growth. And let me be clear, protecting your energy is not rude. Honoring your needs is not arrogance. Saying no with clarity is not cold, it's clarity. And clarity is power. You want to know what real strength looks like? It's walking away from what is familiar but harmful. It's ending the conversation that goes nowhere but drains you. It's choosing not to engage in dysfunction just because it's easier than being alone. It's standing in front of someone who expects you to bend and staying upright. People always say, "Don't let anyone walk all over you," but here's the thing. No one walks on you unless you lay down. And when you stop laying down to keep everyone else comfortable, that's the moment you rise. You don't owe anyone access to you just because they've known you a long time. You don't owe anyone your energy just because they expect it. The more you learn to say, "I don't accept that," the more you start attracting people who speak the same language. People who see you, not what they can get from you. You are not here to be liked. You are here to live in integrity. And every boundary you set is a quiet declaration that your time, your heart, your mind, your body are yours. You're not too much, too little for yourself. Let me tell you something that most people don't understand about real power. It's not loud, it's not flashy, doesn't always show up in big wins or dramatic moments. Real power is quiet. It's subtle. It lives in the decisions you make when no one is watching. Keep doing when no one claps, no one notices, and no one's checking in to see how you're doing. It's in the grind, the silent, unsexy grind that you show up for, day after day, without needing to be seen. That's not weakness. That's not desperation. That's strength most people will never tap into, because they can't sit in the dark long enough to discover what they're really made of. If you're showing up and doing the work even when it's hard, when it's lonely, when the outcome isn't guaranteed, that's a sign you're more powerful than you think. Because anyone can post motivation, anyone can talk big when the spotlight's on, but who are you when it's just you, the silence, and a goal that feels miles away? That's the test. And if you're still getting up, still pushing forward, still putting in the reps without recognition, that's a level of discipline and resilience that can't be taught. That's power. You see, the world has conditioned us to believe that if it doesn't get attention, if it's not seen, it's not real. But that's a lie. Some of your most important work will happen in private. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come in moments of doubt and discomfort, when quitting would be easier, but something inside you says, keep going. That voice? That's your strength. That's the part of you no one gave you. You built that. And you don't need an audience to validate it. People love to celebrate outcomes. They love the transformation, the before and after, the success story, but they skip right over the part where you kept showing up in silence, when you felt invisible, when no one was cheering. That part matters more than the result, because if you can hold the line when things are uncertain, when it feels like no progress is being made, you become unstoppable. The truth is, most people stop showing up because they don't see instant results. They want growth to look like a straight line. But the most powerful people, the ones who win in the long run, understand that growth is often invisible. It's happening in the dark. It's the seeds you plant now that break through later. And here's what separates you from the rest. You don't need to be pushed. You've developed the kind of inner drive that doesn't require hype. You're self-led. You move whether or not someone's watching, because your why is stronger than your doubt. And yes, it's hard, it's exhausting, but when you keep your head down and trust the process, when you pour into something with consistency, even when the feedback is silence, that's when you find out what you're really capable of. The grind will test you. It'll try to break your spirit. It'll whisper, "No one cares, why bother?" But you keep going, not because it's easy, but because you've decided you're worth the effort. You've decided your vision matters, even if no one else sees it yet. And that's the most dangerous kind of person. The one who keeps going without applause. The one who doesn't need to be seen to believe in their mission. So if you're in that space right now, grinding in silence, pushing through the dark, don't underestimate yourself. You're not stuck. You're not behind. You're not invisible. You're being forged. You want to know another sign that you're more powerful than you think? It's when fear doesn't control your life anymore. And I'm not saying you stop feeling it, no. You'll always feel fear. That's human. But what changes is how you respond to it. Stop letting fear be the deciding voice. You stop letting it dictate your choices. You feel the fear, acknowledge it, and then move anyway. That right there, that's courage. That's strength. And it's one of the clearest indicators that you're stepping into your power. Most people wait for fear to disappear before they take the leap. They think courage is the absence of fear. It's not. Courage is action in the presence of fear. Courage is saying, yes, I'm scared, but this matters more. And when you get to that point, where your desire to grow, to heal, to move forward outweighs your fear of failing or being judged, you become dangerous in the best possible way. Because nothing can control you anymore. Not doubt, not insecurity, not other people's opinions. You've taken back the wheel. There's a moment, maybe you've had it, when you realize fear has been driving your decisions for far too long. You stayed in a situation because it was safe. You didn't speak up because you didn't want to rock the boat. You played small because you didn't want to be seen. And then one day you realize that staying quiet, staying small, staying in line, it's costing you something. It's costing you your potential, your truth, your future. That moment of clarity, that's the beginning of power. It doesn't come all at once. Sometimes it starts in the smallest ways. You speak up in a meeting. You say no to something that drains you. You take one small step toward the thing you've been avoiding. And every time you do, you're sending yourself a message. I trust me more than I fear the outcome. That builds something unshakable. Because confidence isn't loud, it's evidence. It's built in moments when you act in alignment with who you want to be, not who fear tells you you are, and you will still hear fear. It's not going to go quiet just because you've decided to be brave. It'll whisper that you're not ready, that you'll embarrass yourself, that you'll fail. But you don't have to believe everything you think. Fear will always sound convincing because it speaks in your own voice. But the difference is now you know it's not always telling the truth. Now you know fear is just a sign that you're stepping outside of comfort, and nothing great grows in comfort. I want you to think about this. How many things have you already survived that you once thought would break you? How many times did you doubt yourself and still showed up anyway? You're already more powerful than you realize. Fear just has a way of making you forget. So the next time fear rises up, don't fight it. Face it. Look it in the eye. Let it ride along, but don't hand it the map. You've got something more important now. Direction. And direction driven by purpose will always overpower fear driven by doubt. If fear doesn't get to decide anymore, you've already won. Sometimes you won't even notice it happening. You're just doing your thing, growing, healing, setting boundaries, showing up consistently. You're not trying to impress anyone, you're not performing, you're just living your truth. And yet, without realizing it, you're inspiring people around you. Not because you said the perfect words, but because you embodied something real. That's power. Quiet, steady, unintended, but undeniable. When you start honoring yourself, you send a message, even if you never say a word. People watch how you move. They notice how you carry yourself when you're disrespected. They watch how you bounce back from disappointment, how you walk away from what doesn't align. That presence, that energy, teaches more than any lecture ever could. That's what real influence looks like. You don't need a stage. You don't need a spot. All you need is integrity. There's something magnetic about a person who's fully aligned with who they are. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to chase validation. They don't play small, but they also don't posture. Their strength is in their steadiness. You can feel it when they walk in the room. You trust it without even knowing why. That's the kind of power I'm talking about. The kind that comes from doing the inner work so thoroughly that you don't need external approval to feel solid. And you might not see yourself that way yet. Maybe you think, I'm just doing what I need to do to survive, to protect my peace, to grow. But what you don't see is how powerful that actually is. Because most people don't do that. Most people stay on autopilot. They avoid the hard conversations. They water themselves down to be accepted. You didn't. You decided to get real. You decided to own your story. You decided to stop pretending. And that decision alone gives other people permission to do the same. That's the ripple effect of being unapologetically you. You show people what's possible when they stop settling. You show them that strength doesn't have to look aggressive. That confidence can be quiet. That leadership isn't about commanding others, it's about mastering yourself. And when people feel that from you, they start rethinking their own limits. They start remembering their own strength. You never know who's watching you and thinking, if they can do it, maybe I can too. You never know who's gathering courage from your resilience. And that's not something you have to perform. It happens naturally when you walk in alignment. That's what makes it powerful. Because it's not forced, it's not curated, it's real. You don't have to be perfect to inspire others. You just have to be honest. You have to be willing to grow in public, to admit when it's hard, and to keep going anyway. That authenticity, that's what people connect with. That's what moves people. And it's not about being some kind of hero, it's about being human and choosing to rise anyway. Choosing to speak truth when it's easier to stay silent. Choosing to lead yourself when no one else is clapping. And without even trying, you become the example. You become the proof that power doesn't need noise, it needs presence. So if you're showing up for your life with that kind of quiet strength, don't underestimate the impact you're making. You're not just powerful, you're making others believe they can be too.